I once had a supervisor who frequently sent memos to the branch offices in his region. For those of you that are here for the first time, I work full-time in addition to this, at least until January. So that's what it's all about. The supervisor I'm talking about is not the bishop. We don't have bishops in the Religious Science Church. But this supervisor frequently sent memos to the branch offices that were in his particular region. Now, this is not an unusual procedure. Our company computer has a communication system by means of which a person can send messages to one or many branches. And in this system, the supervisors send instructions to their branch managers in the morning, and sometimes they send inspirational messages, pep talks, so to speak. These usually occur near the end of the month or at the beginning of a new month. And every branch is in competition with every other branch, and every region is in competition with every other region and every area, and on up the line for the attainment of certain goals that the company would like us to reach. Now, this competition goes up the line and down the line at all levels of management. And it's fun, and it's healthy, and it's rewarding, and there are rewards attached to it, not only the rewards of satisfaction, but actual physical rewards, trips to Las Vegas and Hawaii and so forth. And because of the competition, I think we get better results. So it's a good thing. And in our case, the supervisor is the coach and the managers are the members of the team. Now, various supervisors express themselves differently in their memos. Some are very businesslike and statistically oriented. Some are more casual. Some are positive. Some are negative. Some are sarcastic. Some are threatening. Some are confident. And some are panic-stricken. But the particular supervisor that I'm talking about, and we'll call him Doug Jones, it's a good name, he had a style unlike any of the others. He was obviously a widely read individual, and he quoted sometimes from what he had read, but the ideas that he put forth were his own ideas, and they were specifically directed toward two things: toward the business that we were in, but secondly, toward the people in that business. And I think that this is perhaps what made his memos different from the other supervisors. They were more people-orientated. Now, like the other supervisors, he wanted results. He was not wishy-washy at all. He wanted the results. But he wanted you to have fun in the process of getting those results. He cared about you, the employee. And he recognized that his people must have a feeling of enjoyment and fulfillment in their work if they were to produce at the highest level possible. You know, anyone can produce when he's prodded up to a certain point. And then you get so tired of prodding him that you slow down and then he slows down too. But those who are motivated by desire will produce without prodding. And then nobody gets tired, and everybody enjoys it. So this was his approach. Now, his memorandums, of course, were a reflection of his own personality. And before we get into them, I want to just briefly summarize his personality. First of all, he always expected the best. That is, he didn't demand the best. He expected the best. Now, there's a vast difference, you know, between these two concepts. To demand implies coercion, and coercion implies resistance. Now, so it's all in how you look at it, isn't it? Did you know that if you don't expect resistance, that you probably won't get any? We create resistance to our ideas according to our own expectations. Now, conversely, if we expect the best, then we'll usually get that. People produced for Doug Jones not because they were afraid of him or threatened by him, but because they were expected to produce. Now, another thing about expectation, it implies that you have the ability. If I am expected to produce certain results, why then I must have the ability to produce those results. If I didn't, they wouldn't be expected of me. So this belief, then, that I have the ability to produce the results that are expected engenders the confidence in me and brings out that ability to get the job done at the highest level. So this is the way that DJ was. He expected, not demanded, and what he expected was the best. That is, not second best, or mediocre, or average, but just the best. Now, secondly, he gave us the freedom to do it our way. As you'll see from his memos when we get into them, they deal in generalities, in principles, and they leave the details to us. They also leave the working out of solutions to us. They seem to say, look, here's a principle. Apply it. Here's an idea. Use it as you see fit. Be creative. Fill in the blanks yourself. Now, what does this remind you of? In religious science, these ideas are not new at all, are they? Because we believe that God gave us certain laws of the universe. We believe that God deals in principles and leaves the details to us. We believe that God gave us the perfect freedom. We believe that God expects of us the best. And in that expectation, then, we are able to express more of what we really are because it's expected of us. And then God released us in perfect freedom to discover these laws of the universe and use them as we see fit. We will succeed then or fail in life according to the way we use them, just as we will succeed or fail in business according to the way we use the principles. Now, the result of this approach in business is the creative use of freedom, the blossoming of human potential, and on top of that, like the frosting on the cake, a deep-seated feeling of job fulfillment that would not come from any other approach because the results that came were the results of our use of a creative principle. Our use. See, we became co-creators. Now, that's the way it is in life. What we produce is the result of the way we use the principle. So we shared in the creativity of that which we produced. Now it's worth something to us. If we were just told right down the line, step A, B, C, D, E, and so forth, why, what would we be? We'd be just a computer, really. Just carrying out somebody else's orders. Okay, now, with this as a background, let's get into the memos. Now, there's a lot of them, and I don't know if we'll be able to get through all of them, but why don't we just go on until we run out of time? I attempted to categorize these and organize them some way, but they really defy categorizing. Well, here's the first one, and I call this one June Goals, because this was sent out at the beginning of a June. I don't remember which June it was, and it doesn't matter. But first he gives a principle, and then he applies it to a specific goal. Okay, here's the idea. No mighty effort is required for success. Simply stop talking about difficulties, delays, problems, failures, and start talking continuously about your anticipated success. Emerson wrote, "Good luck is another name for tenacity of purpose." Smith wrote, "Failure and success are not accidents, but the strictest justice." Desire is the starting point of all achievement. But here is where many run into roadblocks. A person will say, "I know what I desire, but can I get it?" You would not have the desire unless you were capable of its achievement. Whatever it is you desire with all your heart, know that it can and should be yours. Have the guts to say, "This is it. This is what I really desire, and I will never retreat until I attain it." Then you will have the sort of desire that can only end in success. Amazing memo to send out to a financial institution, isn't it? Well, let's take the first idea. No mighty effort is required for success.
Well, that's funny. I always thought you had to work real hard to get it to be a success. But according to Doug Jones, he says no mighty effort is required for success. All you have to do is stop accepting failure. Now, most of us would like to succeed at something, but we think it requires a lot of effort, and a lot of hard work to succeed, a lot of time. So perhaps we put it off. We procrastinate our success. Now, this is success in anything. It doesn't have to be in business. It could be in anything. So we put off our success until we're more rested, until we get back from vacation, or maybe until we have more time, or until the kids are grown, or something. And somehow then we never get around to it because we think it's going to take a lot of work. But he says no mighty effort is required for success, which implies it's easy. Well, let's see if we can interpret this in terms of religious science principles. In religious science, we say that the universe, including your world and my world, which is a part of the universe, is an expression of God. Right? That's what we claim. Everything in the universe is an expression of God, because that's all there is God. And we say that God is always successful in everything that it undertakes, that God never failed at anything. God never turned in a poor month-end report that was less than perfect. Therefore, the universe is a success. You don't have to force success then. You already have it. You already are it because you are a part of a successful universe. So your name is success now. Now, if you're not manifesting it, it is because you have temporarily blotted it out. You have temporarily put that roadblock in the way of the natural expression of the universe as success through you. Do you know it takes more effort and work to fail than it does to succeed? It's true. The whole tendency of the universe is towards success. And if you fail, it is because you are resisting the natural tendency of the universe, which is to express itself as success through you. You're resisting it. We talk about the mainstream of life flowing out from the center of the universe into expression. If you are failing, it is because you're trying to swim against the current. Maybe it's because you're afraid. Maybe it's because you're filled with doubt. This is why we keep going back to the principle that there is no separation between you and God. You are one. What else could you be except an expression of God? If you were something separate from God, you could not exist for a single moment, or God would not exist, one of the two. Because God is the central flame of the universe, the creative force that brings everything into being by entering into its creation. If that principle is true, and that's the starting point, if you can accept that at least intellectually, then what follows from that is that you are a success now, and you can quit resisting it and let it flow out of your experience. Well, that's a beautiful theory, but if it's true, why do some people succeed and other people fail? Well, as DJ said in his memo, stop talking about difficulties, stop talking about delays and problems and failures, and start talking continuously about your anticipated success. The people who fail are the people who talk, think, or believe in failure. And the people who succeed are the people who anticipate or expect to succeed, because it is your belief that is the creative force in your life. Now, please notice that external circumstances have nothing to do with it. It's all within your own belief and feeling. Otherwise, whenever there was an economic depression, everybody would fail instead of just some people. But in every economic depression we've ever had, or recession, or whatever you want to call it, some people fail, but some people go right on succeeding. So it can't be the outward circumstances. It can only be your belief or acceptance of the truth or of error. And belief in a recession as a cause is an error. Ask any stockbroker. A recession is a result of panic selling. Now, your own belief and feeling is something that you and you alone can control. You don't have to believe in anything or accept anything that you don't want to, and that includes economic conditions. Did you know, for example, that Esquire magazine was started in the middle of the Great Depression? Esquire magazine. How many subscribe to that? Good. I was hoping there'd be one guy, and I'd... Esquire magazine is a recreational magazine, shall we call it. A frivolous one, even. And I'm not passing judgment. I think it's got great articles in it. I've never actually read one. But I've heard. Well, Emerson said, good luck is another name for tenacity of purpose. We need to hold to, be tenacious in our expectation of success. And when we do this, then we will make it so, even if the whole world collapses around us. When you do so, you are lining up your own thinking with universal truth, which is success with a capital S, and it doesn't know anything else but success. Now, Doug Jones also said in here that desire is the starting point of all achievement. Desire. It's pretty simple, isn't it? Desire means wanting. Wanting it is the starting point of all achievement. Now, everyone has desires, or we sometimes call them dreams, and they are usually the finest, the best, the noblest thing that we would like to have or be or express. But the difficulty arises when we question our ability to express those dreams. We dream the dreams and think it's wonderful, but then we say it's not practical, or I can't do this, I can't be this. Or we say, oh, if only I had the proper training or education, or if only the proper opportunity. Oh, I remember 5 years ago when somebody told me I should have bought this stock, or I had the opportunity to buy that piece of land in the valley and I didn't, and the opportunity passed me by. Or like that guy I told you about that came in to visit me in Hollywood, and he owned that piece of property right on the corner of Sunset and Gower Street, and he let it go for $38,000 20 years ago. If only he'd held on to it, he'd have been a millionaire. If only. If only. But the gospel, according to Doug Jones, says, you would not have the desire unless you were capable of its achievement. Amazing. Amazing concept. If we were to put that idea into religious science phraseology, we would say, your desire that you feel is universal mind's way of telling you that you have the ability to make it so. And if you didn't have the ability, you wouldn't have the desire. There's a message there that's being put into your mind. You're wanting something, wanting to express something, to be something, to do something. Why? Because universal mind is telling you because you have the ability to do it. No buts, no if-onlys about it. All achievement starts with the desire. Now it has, where else could it start? Could it start with repugnance? That's ridiculous, isn't it? What's the opposite of desire? Isn't it repugnance? Repulsion? Is that where it could start? Tell me, does a great artist start his great masterpiece of art that lives through hundreds of years out of repulsion for his art? Is there any great business that is now a great corporation that was at one time started by one man out of his desire and dream, or was it started out of his hatred of business, of that business? Ridiculous. Achievement must start with desire. Now, you and I are living proof of that statement because you and I were born out of God's desire to express itself as us. How beautiful. How beautiful. You and I are God's desire. All great things begin with the same kind of desire, and it is that desire that gives you the ability to bring it to pass, whether you've had any training or not. You can get the training, but it starts with the desire. So your desire then is the voice of God within telling you to get busy. Get busy. No more roadblocks of your own making. What mind can conceive, mind can achieve. You are mine. The last day of last month, when I had met all my goals at the office, I put that on the computer and sent it to Scottsbluff, Nebraska. Who do I know there? Nobody. But a reply came back
saying, okay, explain it to me. That was the wrong thing to say. Because my memo got that long, explaining it. And I never used the word God once. Why? Because I didn't want to turn him off. I'll do that later. Someday I'm going to have to stop in there. Well, if your mind can conceive the dream, then you are already equipped with what it takes to make it come true. Now, applying this principle to a specific result in his memo, which I didn't read that part of the memo because it's a little technical, but applying this principle to a specific result that he desired in our business. In the June memo, DJ mentioned that in this one particular operating category, the company figure was 2.6%. In the finance business, everything is done in percentages. So this was 2.6%, and the desirable figure in this was low. The lower, the better. Okay, so now you know what it was, delinquency, right? So the company average was 2.6%, and we had just ended the month of May with a 2.2%, which he said in his memo is probably the lowest region figure in the company. But, he goes on, I am committed to 1.9%. Reason? It has never been done. How magnificent. It's never been done. He said, I am committed to it. He didn't say, you'd better. No. I'm committed to it. It's never been done. Now, to the religious scientists, this says several things. It says, first of all, that race consciousness or race belief has nothing to do with me. Now, does everyone know what is meant by race consciousness or race belief? Race consciousness is what most people think, feel, and believe. And it can influence your thinking, feeling, and belief if you let it. But you don't have to let it. Now, in this case, 2.6 was good enough for the company, but not good enough for DJ. And what may generally be accepted by the human race does not have to be generally accepted by you and I. For example, if it's all right to have 3 major illnesses in your life, if that's accepted by race consciousness, doesn't mean you have to. You can have only 2, or you can have 1, or you can have none. If it's generally accepted that a person from this socioeconomic background is going to reach this level socioeconomically, that doesn't mean you have to. You can go far beyond it. The great people in this world and country and in history have done exactly that. Now that includes any kind of limitation that you and I may have accepted in the past about ourselves. We don't have to accept it anymore. I heard a speaker the other day who was from the Association of Retired People. I joined the Kiwanis, and he was one of the speakers, and he said that retired people have so much to offer that it's incredible. The experience that they have to offer is incredible. So we don't have to accept race consciousness that puts perhaps a retired person on the shelf as far as making a contribution to society, to the community, to the business world. We don't have to accept any kind of limitation that is put upon us by race consciousness. We can set our own goals, and whatever goal they are, no matter how outlandish they may seem, they are sure to be attained if we will persist in our dream. And that's exactly what he said. If you never retreat, then it can only end in success. Which leads us nicely into the next memo, which is a rather short one, and which I call the snail memo, in which he said, the snail just now reached the ark. There's more. See, anything can be done if you point yourself in the right direction and keep at it. What does that one say to you? How does that grab you, as we say? Well, here's what it says to me. It says, on the road of self-discovery, which is the road we're all on, you travel at your pace and I'll travel at mine. Now, we'll both get there eventually. But I'm not concerned with anyone's journey except my own. Unless someone wants me to help them, that's different. But I am not going to attempt to hurry you up, and I wish you wouldn't attempt to hurry me. You know, I took the first and second year of this study twice, which made me think I was a little backward. I didn't get it all the first time. Can't you imagine how good it made me feel at the seminar when Arlene Pitcock said she'd taken it 7 times? Now, isn't that a ridiculous comparison? The only reason I'm teaching the first and second year now is that I still didn't get it the second time. Now, if I'm moving through life at a snail's pace, that's all right, because I'll get to the ark eventually. Besides, what's the rush? I have all of eternity to unfold. I have all of eternity to reach my spiritual goal because I am eternal. My body may be sloughed off, but the consciousness, the spirit that I am, will live forever. So, I don't have to hurry, but I must persist. I must point myself in the right direction and keep at it. Now, the right direction is the realization of myself as divine. And for most of us, this takes a lot of persistence. Not effort, but persistence. We're not trying to make ourselves divine. We're simply trying to accept the truth of our own divinity, which already is. The same thing is true of temporal goals, such as health, happiness, and success. They're no different from spiritual goals. If you quit worrying about other people's accomplishments and persist in your own, then you will attain them. As Doug said in another memo that kind of ties in with the snail memo, he said, the region is performing well in every category. Plan your last week now. He sent this out the last week of the month. And remember, persistence is the keynote to success. Through persistence, you will, quote, make the crooked places straight and break in pieces the gates of brass and cut in sunder the bars of iron and discover the hidden riches of secret places. Isaiah 45:2. Well, results were frequently excellent under this man's leadership, and when they were, we got commended. And here's a memo from when we turned up in first place out of the 7 western regions. He says, the Pittsburgh Steelers won the Super Bowl because they were the best. And we were the number 1 region because we are the best. The Steelers won because of the players, not the coaches. So congratulations and give yourself a pat on the back. We are to the company like USC is to college football, like the Pope is to Catholics, like Dracula is to vampires. We are the best. So he was pretty jubilant in that one, wasn't he? But you know, things did not always go well, even under his leadership. Sometimes we had a poor month when almost nothing turned out right. Have you ever had a month like that in your affairs? Well, it seems to me that the real test of leadership is how a person handles himself when everything is not going well. In religious science, that's when we say you have to see beyond the condition to the truth. We also say that you cannot allow the condition to become a secondary cause in your life, because you are the cause. You can't look outside of yourself and think that that's the cause out there, that poor month that happened to you. We need to see beyond the limiting condition to the truth of our own being. God as good as us, renewing a beautiful universe through us. Now see if you think that this memo, sent to us near the end of a month that was not going well, answers that need. Promise yourself, I like that, not promise me, he said, promise yourself to wear a cheerful countenance at all times and give every living creature you meet a smile. Ladies and gentlemen, I have talked to each of you today, and some of you feel under the gun because things are not what they could be. He didn't say not what they should be, did he? Not what they could be. Stop, back up, and just look outside at such a beautiful day. Are you missing the beauty around you because you are trapped in your own mind? Yes, I want you to do as good a job as possible, and I want good results. But back up, relax, and smile. Or how about this one? 2 men looked out from prison bars. One saw the mud, the other saw stars. Religious science, we say no matter what happens to you, you are still you. No matter what goes on around you, no matter what happens to you, even your body, your business, or anything else, you have not changed. You are still God in expression. If you've had a bad month, you can have a good one. Because we are created in the image and likeness of God, and we need not remain in any condition for very long. All conditions are subject to our consciousness. And when we regain that perspective, then we can command that condition to leave our experience and replace it with a better one. Well, one more quickie. And you know, there's a whole bunch more. We haven't even tapped. Maybe we ought to have another one on this. What do you think? Want to? All right, well, let's wrap it up with this one. Have you ever noticed how frequently things turn out badly when you expect them to? It seems to me that when I expect something bad to happen, I am never disappointed. If I wait long enough, eventually things will turn out as badly as I had feared. But I have also noticed that the same principle works in reverse. If I expect good things to happen, they usually do. All I have to do is wait long enough, and it's not long before it all turns out the way I had hoped. Life is that way. It tends to respond to our outlook, to shape itself to meet our expectations. There is enough good and bad in everyone's life, enough sorrow and happiness, enough joy and pain, that any one of us can find ample excuse to look up or look down, to laugh or to cry, to see the world as a blessing or a curse. I choose an upward look. Given the option to read life however I choose, I believe in underlining the positive passages with a bright red pencil and skipping over the negative ones with barely a glance. Now, do you see why I say he was a religious scientist and didn't even know it? What he just quoted here is the law of cause and effect. It is done unto you as you believe. And if you believe that you are one with God and thereby absolutely unlimited in what you can attain and accomplish, then you will be unlimited. And if you believe you are separate from God, then you will be limited. Now, one more thing. These memos were not written by a Tibetan monk sitting atop the mountain contemplating his navel. They were written by a finance supervisor with an $18 million responsibility. And you do not get that kind of a responsibility by being Pollyannish. This man lives and operates in the mainstream of American business, and he operates successfully. You can too. So let's close now with a closing excerpt from the Gospel according to Doug Jones. Throughout the teachings of all great religions and all great thinkers and all great philosophers and now modern psychologists are these two monumental facts. One, you can achieve whatever you believe you can. Two, you are the result of your beliefs. As the Bible said, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. As Buddha said, all that we are is a result of what we have thought. As William James said, belief creates actual fact. And as Emerson said, no accomplishment, no assistance, no training can compensate for lack of belief. You can prove that it is so, and I believe you will. That's the Gospel according to Doug Jones. And Doug, wherever you are, thank you for proving it works.